The bats were either far to the south or hanging upside down in hollow trees and in caves. Their bodies would be cold, their hearts beating very slowly. They would breathe but twice in 15 minutes. The season of hibernation was still upon the land. And yet the forest was not still. The deer and foxes were walking in the moonlight. Mice were tunneling under the snow, and minks and weasels were sliding down riverbanks. The owl lifted one of his flight feathers and ran his beak down the shaft to groom it. It snapped back into place without making a sound. Wisps of down grow along the edges of owl feathers and mute the rustling sound of their wings. When he flies, he travels as silently as a falling star. The owl looked down on his 6 square miles of property in the Catskills, a combination of forest, fields, and swamps. On his western boundary rose a dark cliff. Over this landmark in autumn, he and his much larger mate would chase their young of the year, sending them off to find their own homes, perhaps taking the place of a bird that had died. The old pair would also chase away other young of their kind who were looking for homes. They would not tolerate any other member of their species on their territory. It was to them food, shelter, and a nesting site for their young. Suddenly the owl bobbed his head in excitement. This moon bespoke a dramatic beginning. He did not know why, but he wanted to be on the move this night. He opened his wings and flew. He soared silently down the mountain, speeding between the tree limbs. Miraculously, he avoided every twig. He came to rest on a pine beside the small bird tree, where many of the daytime birds slept. The tree was an old beech with pale, dry leaves that clung to it all winter. The little birds, cardinals, juncos, and finches, roosted among the leaves. Their body heat reflected off the leaves, making the space around each bird a warm little microclimate. The big owl did not see the birds, for they were sitting perfectly still. Then a cardinal pulled one cold foot up into his feathers and put the warmed one down. Because of that movement, the owl saw the little bird. He did not catch it. His food was bigger game: rabbits, squirrels, skunks, porcupines. For the most part, he left the little birds and mice to the smaller owls, the saw-whet, who had come down from Canada for the winter, and the screech owl. The great horned owl lifted his feathers and shook. He fluttered his white beard in excitement. Not because the pesky blue jay who screamed at him during the day was sleeping below him, not because the nuthatch had awakened in his tree hole and was leaning out to check the cold, and not because the sparrows and the juncos were striking their bodies with closed wings to keep themselves warm. He was responding to an exuberance within him. He sailed off, and without making a sound, alighted on his favorite maple tree on the stream bank near an open field. He swung his head and glanced around. Nothing was moving, but he could hear tiny feet pattering. Now his eyes and ears worked together to pinpoint the sound with a 3-point fix. The sound came from the empty